All right, we're at a critical mass, so I might kick us off. Thank you so much for joining for our second webinar in our Fire Adapted Community webinar series. Today, the theme is Ideas for Action, so you'll be hearing from some leaders and ambassadors from the Tahoe Basin and Reno on how they have increased engagement and the community action in their neighborhoods. All right, so we are going to hear from some of our um, current Firewise leaders who are in the Tahoe Basin. Um, Wayne Luke is a Firewise leader for the Spring Creek Tract Homeowners Association. And he is our going to speak on some of the communication tactics that you can use in a homeowners association to increase your neighborhood engagement and get more residents to take action. Wayne, would you like to come off mute and provide some of your advice as one of the Firewise leaders?
Certainly. We have 137 residents in the Spring Creek Homeowners Tract Association. We've had a fire committee for 4 years. We are part of we are a Firewise community. Things that we use is we have a quarterly homeowners association newsletter that goes out to everybody. So we communicate in that way. We have an email set up that has a group name for all of our homeowners, so that you can use that to send out emails to everybody in the homeowners association. That's often used for official communications by our fire committee. It is also used by homeowners simply as a way of having a group chat. We also have a group chat area, which is a private email account that you have to log into, which allows for communication. And then we do most of our fire committee meetings by Zoom meetings, because our residents are all recreational residents, so we don't have anyone permanently living in our residences.
Sweet.
The other
Thank
thing,
you. Oh,
the other thing that we have is we have an annual homeowners meeting where all the homeowners are expected to be there. We started this year with that, having a staffed fire committee table at that, where we have materials about our fire committee, what are our goals for our members, as well as our fire committee members in terms of meeting our Firewise goals. And we also pass out their information about defensible space. It's a great opportunity for us to connect with new homeowners which have purchased and moved into our community within the last year or each year.
sweet. Thank you so much, Wayne. Have you found that your work days you're able to use some of those homeowners association kind of email notification lists and things of that sort to get people to come out, or is it or do you find that your work days the work happens throughout the wildfire season in the basin?
We have specific work days, and on the specific work days, we very much use our group email to be able to communicate when the day is, to encourage people to participate and to get names of people that are committing to participate. We have programs that we expect both the committee to be doing throughout the year, as well as the homeowners to be doing throughout the year. So for instance, we use the chipping service. We have our homeowners say that we are going to provide Lake Valley Fire coming in and doing chipping of down wood, brush, and that, so they can take and put that out in front of their lots. And then we have Lake Fire come in and do the whole community in one day type of thing. We do that several times during the fire season. We have a deal with South Lake Tahoe Refuse that we have a large green waste dumpster, which is on in the community throughout the season from spring until roughly about November, that individuals could put in for free green waste. And then when that is filled, we call South Lake Tahoe Refuse. They empty it and bring it back, type of thing like that.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Do you have anything else to add, Wayne?
No, I'm open to any kind of questions.
Of course. I'm gonna bump to Diane and then we'll open it up for questions from the participants once Diane speaks as a non-homeowners association. Diane, would you like to speak for El Tahoe Firewise?
Yes, I would. You want me to speak about the activities that we participate in and things like that? Well, we have several activities that we do throughout the year. For one thing, we like to hold meetings with a lot of our state, national, and local participants, leaders related to fire service. For instance, we had the California Department of Insurance Commissioner, we had a Fair Plan representative. We've held large meetings where we've had state senators and state representatives and local fire agency leaders come and participate. We find that these are very valuable because it gets the word out to a lot more people and it deals with really relevant topics. For instance, when the Camp Fire happened, we were the first community to come out and actively hold a meeting that addressed evacuations here in the city. And it's just important activities like that. Some of the other things we've done, we've held many panel discussions with our local fire agency representatives and again, some state representatives. I think one of the other things that we've done is we've had multiple cleanup and chipping days, and we have partnered along on those days with our South Tahoe Fire Rescue, with Lake Valley Fire, with Tahoe Douglas Zephyr Crew, TRCD, Tahoe Refuse, Stupid. You know, all of these agencies have been great participants in the activities that we have. The other thing we've done is we had a demonstration house where we had extensive mitigation done on a home for an elderly disabled resident. And this was one of the very first El Tahoe events that we held. And it today still serves as a model for the community of what we expect the rest of our residents to do. And the fire department even uses it as a model when they're showing the work that was done on the property. The other thing that we've done is we have had a huge community barbecue. And this was only possible due to a grant that we received from the Marcella Foundation. And that was an opportunity for us to reach out to a huge number of people. We had over 500 at the event. And that was primarily to elicit more emails so that we could communicate better to our residents. We have 1,520 parcels and 1,611 dwelling units, and 60% of those are out of area owners. So our great goal in that one was to elicit as many more emails as we could. And that event actually doubled the amount of emails that we were able to use to communicate with our residents. We've also participated in multiple events with the fire department and other agencies. We participated in Firefest every year, pancake breakfasts. All of those kinds of things are additional ways to get the word out about what Firewise is, what home hardening and defensible space mitigation looks like, how to get inspections, what to do on a home assessment checklist. All of these things are so beneficial in getting the word out. We've also participated in a CTC pilot program where our residents were allowed to file a permit or request a permit to go onto CTC property, which we have never been able to do before, and mitigate risk up to 30 feet away from a resident's home. So those kinds of things are beneficial in making our community safer and getting the word out about Firewise. The other thing we've done is we've applied for grants. That's been one of our most difficult things, but we did receive a large grant from the Marcella Foundation, which allowed us to participate or to put on our barbecue and maintain our website, and to also have a monthly MailChimp subscription so that we can keep track of our residents via our newsletters. So the result of all of these activities basically helped improve our volunteer participation. It helped improve our time and expense report gathering. And it really helped establish our street ambassador program, where we can do a meet and greet with our new residents, with our old residents, hand out go bags, tell them what Firewise is all about, and encourage them to participate in our events and our activities. So I think I've pretty much covered what we've done action-wise, Cricket.
Yep, that was great. Thank you so much, Diane. Have you found that, because I know you've been around as a Firewise neighborhood for several years now, have there been more successful events, and what exactly have those events been, and why do you think they were more successful than others?
Well, I think they were successful in getting more participation as far as volunteerism in our community. When COVID hit, everything shut down. Nobody wanted to volunteer. We had a horrible time trying to get participation. And since then, we have gradually increased our street ambassador program, our volunteer help at our events. In fact, at our last event, we had 2 different sites going on at the same time, and which involved multiple needs for our multiple use of volunteers. So yeah, we have increased our participation, but unfortunately, one of the drawbacks is it isn't consistent yet. We need to have more on an ongoing basis that we can rely on, and not be as hit and miss volunteerism as we've seen in the past.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm going to open up the floor for anyone to ask questions. I also know that there are a couple other experienced leaders on the call currently, if they would also like to share some of their tactics. But we can just take some time to enable some of the discussion amongst all the leaders and anyone who has questions or comments to add. If you do, you're welcome to raise your hand and I can bring you off mute.
Cricket, I saw one of the comments there was about whether there are homeowner associations or government regulations that hinder attempts for wildfire preparedness. At least where we are, the homeowners association, I found, has been extremely helpful and not a hindrance whatsoever. To follow up on one of the things that Diane said, for engagement, we actually in our tract inspect. Our fire committee inspects every lot, a third of every one of the lots, on a rotating basis every 3 years, which is equivalent to the fire inspection that you would get from the Lake Valley Fire. We provide the results of that back to the homeowner. We get excellent feedback and interaction with homeowners. Homeowners we find that are out of compliance and grossly out of compliance, we follow up with personal phone calls and visits with them to encourage them to address their situations. We are all on Forest Service land. We do not own our lots. That does provide some challenges for us. We actually find out that the Forest Service is an outstanding partner in encouraging us to be good stewards. So we have not encountered any problems in terms of defensible space clearance on the land. We do have the challenge that we have to get permission from the Forest Service to remove dead and down trees that are bigger than 6 inches in diameter. And that does provide a little bit of a challenge, simply be going through the paperwork or having to do that, but they are very good about responding.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Wayne. Megan.
Yeah, I had a question for Diane. She kind of laid out a lot of sort of initiatives and strategies that all Lake Tahoe incorporates with their efforts. And one particular thing I wanted to ask about was the agreements with CTC. First of all, Can you explain what CTC is, Diane?
Oh, yes, that's the California Tahoe Conservancy. We have about 100 of their parcels here in our community, and we've never been able to access any of the lots to do any kind of defensible space mitigation whatsoever. And this year, the CTC crews have come in and done huge forest management removal of large trees and brush on the property. And we were able to access the lots to do more of the defensible space of clearing the pine needles and the brush and the branches off of their property up to 30 feet from one of our residents' homes. Actually, we did 2 lots this year. So it was a lot of work for us because we had to go and do some pretty heavy mitigation on those lots, as you can expect. But we followed all of the rules and regulations that we were given that we could do. And our homeowners feel very grateful that they benefited by this new pilot program. And I hope that more communities are afforded the opportunity to do the same thing as El Tahoe Firewise was.
I have a quick follow-up. I see Michelle has her hand raised, but just on this topic, could you maybe just explain how that collaboration came about? Like, what was the process of reaching out to CTC? Was it finding the right person? Were there successes and failures along the way that you might want to share?
Megan, can I just interrupt quickly?
Oh, yeah.
The CTC agreement is through Tahoe RCD. It's
cool.
a pilot program that we've been working on with them. So in the Tahoe Basin, all homeowners who are adjacent to a Forest Service lot can enter into an agreement to do defensible space work on the property. And so California Tahoe Conservancy are opening it up now to their lots as well. So Diane was involved in a test with 4 different groups around the basin. And the hope is that next year that will open up to all communities and community members.
Thank you for that. Yeah, clarification. I guess I still am curious about, so then were you Diane's contact for the community with that then?
Yeah, so we worked with the Tahoe RCD. We decided on 4 different groups that were going to take part in the program. And then we communicated and worked with the different groups around the basin. Great. So, yeah.
Very collaborative interagency approach. I'm wondering if anybody else, just curious if anybody in the room has experience working with maybe federal, state, or utility partners as well. If you do, feel free to share your guidance either with us directly or you can type it in the chat.
We have been working on a program with the Forest Service and with the California Conservation Corps to deal with cleaning brush on land, which is Forest Service land adjacent to individuals' residences, but not on their lots. We put together an evaluation of our whole tract, where the areas were, made a report of that, and it provided that to the Forest Service. We've been working for several years with the CCC. We have an agreement with them that they are willing to do work. We're working through the interagencies and being able to say, can CCC work on Forest Service land? It has been a little bit slow, but every agency that we've dealt with has been very good about wanting to work together and recognizing that clearing brush and that is a value to everyone.
I don't know if you can hear me. I can't find the place to raise my hand.
We can hear you.
Okay. So we back up on a state park property, and there's a method that we can go to similar to what you've been talking about in terms of filing for an exception to be able to clear out the adjacent part of the park right against the property lines. One of the difficulties that we've run into, though, is we have people who have sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the term, but they have drawn a blank. They built stuff on park property when it shouldn't be there. And so there's been hesitation to be able to go forward without throwing our neighbors under the bus, right? So how is that handled by various people who've encountered that?
Wayne or Diane, do you have anything to add? I can also speak
I
on that.
couldn't hear the end of that question, Cricket.
It was if we've ever had to deal with people who have built any structures on public lands. I personally
Encroachment. That's the word.
encroachment.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Mm,
At least in the Tahoe Basin, from my experience, a lot of those the California Tahoe Conservancy and the Forest Service lots are not there isn't anything encroaching on them just because they are very well marked, and a lot of them the more major problem is just the combustible fuel load of these lots. But Diane or Wayne, if you've ever walked any of your area and seen anything being built or a shed getting moved onto a lot, please let me know.
Um, in our tract, any structures, any modification of our buildings, anything has to go through Forest Service approval. They do come through. So we don't really have anybody that has any structures, fences, anything on the land outside of the actual cabin or structure. They've been there for 75 years, so there are some places where people have done things around immediately adjacent to their cabin, but we really don't have any issues. We have no fences or things like that, so it's not an issue. And I noticed one of the questions there, how do we do inspections on private land? Since the Forest Service owns the land, we inspect everybody's cabin because there are no barriers to stop you from walking right up from one person's structure to the other one.
Cricket, I also want to reiterate that we were very, very careful when we were doing the mitigation on those lots. We followed all of the rules to the letter to make sure that we weren't overdoing it or not, putting things where they weren't supposed to be or collecting things that we weren't supposed to collect, leaving things for the animals. We were very conscious of what procedures we had to follow. And so, and we appreciated the input that we were given on exactly what we had to do as well.
Great, thank you. I hope that provided some insight, Elo, to your question. We have another question in the chat for Diane. Is your organization, is Al Tahoe Firewise a 501c3? And if yes, how was it formed?
Yes, we do. We are a nonprofit and we are affiliated with Kiwanis, who has taken us on as an affiliate. And so all of our nonprofit goes directly through them. And then on our core team, we have our fiscal manager who handles the money that we receive from donations and grants. And that's how we were able to fund a lot of our programs, is through Kiwanis. Does that answer the question? I hope.
I believe so.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Diane. Does anyone else have any questions for Wayne and Diane, or any other comments they'd like to share with the group? Yes, Zoom user. I don't know what your name is, but I see you in my screen.
Me, Jens Brand.
Yes.
What I'm having difficulty with and have right from the beginning is that we're from Round Hill, and our RHGID cannot and will not cooperate with us in any way because they're limited to what they are allowed to do. So we can't get contact. We can't have them help us send out notes, letters, whatever we want to with our people. So we've been collecting through the people who I had emails for, and then them sending out to other people to get emails so we can communicate, because we have our website, we have our email account. We have everything for them, but we can't contact everybody. So what we have been doing is getting block captains. And the block captains are taking out information and getting the information they can from the people who are here. But our difficulty, of course, is the fact that we have a lot of vacation homeowners who we can't get in contact with. And we're just trying to figure out if anybody has found a secret of how to do that in Tahoe, because so many are vacation homeowners.
Well, I can kind of respond to that, Cricket, a little bit. We had to establish a MailChimp program where we could have our residents sign up online. We have a QR code that can get them to our newsletter, and they could sign up online to receive our newsletters. Because we are so large, we cannot send out legally a mass email. And we have over, well, almost 500 emails now, but it's not nearly enough. But we had to use a MailChimp system, and it costs us almost $30 a month to subscribe to this program, but it's a way of getting our emails out. And Cricket has been so instrumental in helping us do that. We really appreciate her services on that.
Thank you.
We have another question in the chat. If there are any recommendations on contacting and encouraging private empty lot owners to conduct defensible space activities. This is a common concern from adjacent homeowners. Diane or Wayne, if you have any recommendations?
Well, every time we speak to anyone via email or on the newsletter or whatever, we always encourage them to try to get a contact information or get contact information for their adjacent neighbors so that we could get to them and discuss Firewise with them, because a lot of these people still don't know anything about Firewise and what we're doing to promote defensible space and home hardening in our communities. And so every time we speak to anyone, we say, please tell your neighbors, go online, sign up for our newsletters so that we can communicate with them. And that's how we increase our email contacts every year.
In the Spring Creek tract, we don't have any vacant lots that are there. Our challenge has more been we have some owners, which everyone is a recreational one, so that's not their permanent residence. They're living somewhere else and coming there. We have some that don't come very often. We do have email contacts and that. What we have had discussions at our homeowners association level. What would we do if we didn't have compliance? Would we go in and pay and remediate the lot and then charge it to them? We've never had to get to that stage. We've been able to talk with the homeowners and get remediation before we had to go to that level. There's a lot of reluctance to do that and a lot of reasons to be reluctant to do that. So it works fairly well. We found that if you can talk with the people, you eventually can get them to understand the situation. We have had the situation where some people have inherited a lot from a previous generation or that they don't use it very much. And we've encouraged that if that's not the case, get your money, sell your lot, and move it to somebody else. And we've had people do that.
Emily, I hope that gave you a little insight. We do have a couple more discussion questions that Diane and Wayne can answer on our next slide. Or anyone else can type in the chat their answers to these questions or raise their hand. But we have a couple fire adapted community or FAC FAC focused and then community focused questions for how you can get your community to take action. Megan is going to split us up into 2 breakout rooms. And so we will have smaller discussions in these breakout rooms with these questions. Correct, Megan?
Yeah, I'm just making sure that the rooms have good sort of balance of facilitators and yeah, community leaders. So We're gonna put, it's like Cricket and Michelle. You guys will be in one room, leaving one. Does that sound? Actually, let's switch it up. Let's do. Sorry, I'm talking out loud. Yeah, we're gonna do Cricket and Jenny in one, and then Michelle and I in another. That sound good?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Megan.
Okay, and we'll do 2 rooms. So not super small groups. I'm gonna open them now.
Okay.
How's it going, everyone?
Good. And I apologize, my computer is being a little slow, so I just shut the video off.
No worries. We are. Oh, I'm gonna exit the room real quick and copy those questions so that we have them. Michelle, do you know the first one at least so that you can?
Yeah. What's the
Okay.
main goal you have for taking action in your neighborhood?
Me?
Wanna start off?
It's just anyone who wants to speak.
I will.
Hey, Janice, why are you doing it? What's your main goal?
The main goal is to get the safety into the neighborhood. We did fire safe years ago, of course, and got a lot of good property clearance and still uncooperative property owners who never wanted to get involved. I have some now and a lot of new young people in the neighborhood who are very enthused and helping a lot. But we have our older owners that, just kind of sit back and say, well, it's fine. We did it 15 years ago. Why do it again?
Yeah.
My problem has been trying to get the people to continue doing the defensible space. Once they've done it, they think it's okay. Well, I have probably had to do 30, 40 hours worth of defensible space again this year myself because I had little bushes that grew into big trees and had to do it. My difficulty and my main question for input is, what am I going to do to get these people to understand how important it is? Not just the fact that you better do it or you may, which is happening in our neighborhood, not be able to get insurance or get mortgages unless you do your defensible space. I mean, the insurance companies and even the mortgage companies are getting involved in that fact. Getting
So
the
can I?
getting the
Oh,
message.
sorry.
I'm sorry. Getting the message is my difficulty, but I will be contacting you, Michelle, because we are going to have our open house for the Homeowners Association
Okay.
this month. And I'd like some reps there to help.
Yeah, just a comment quickly. I am taking notes from everyone from this to see how we can build on the program. And I'm going to start talking to the fire districts and things about maybe how can they send out only specifically to fire adapted communities and Firewise groups this information, like focusing on you have to sign up and contact your leader, and maybe something that we can put in there that kind of goes over why you have to maintain defensible space, like helping you guys with that content, reaching those people. I'm going to talk to them after this meeting and see if we can start moving forward with something like that, because it's an issue.
Yes.
Anybody else have any goals, particularly for their community, that they're trying to achieve by planning these actions? Robert, I'm going to pick on folks who haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, so my community borders 2 significant highways in our region, and we constantly have car fires, and which kind of catch the grass on fire, and then they kind of spread from there. And so one of our goals is to try to get our community more involved with trying to get the government entities who own these highways to maintain the fire clearances on them. I mean, one of them is a major freeway that Caltrans owns, and they do some work, but then they go along and then they plant a whole bunch of very flammable bushes.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, and when I talked to the our CAL FIRE battalion chief about it, he goes, "Yeah, it's crazy. Why do they do that? It's like, so apart from what the previous attendant was saying is, well, I also, I'm part of the Fire Safe Council for Monterey County, and we have over 60 some odd Firewise communities of various sizes. What we always find is that there's ebbs and lulls in getting people involved, and it's hard to maintain your I'm trying to find the word. It's hard to maintain momentum. Okay. And so I'm not quite sure what the solution is for that, except that I've heard, from, some groups that it just seems like you just have to keep pushing that ball up the hill and not,
Yeah.
and not be discouraged when people say, "Oh, I can't do anything right now," or, sometimes you find that some people are really just too busy at some points in their life and they can't participate. And at other times they're just always like that, and they just give you excuses. And then we have people, I think you also mentioned that, we have people who are maybe can't do some of the work and maybe don't have money to hire people. And so how do you handle that? I mean, do you handle it with work parties? And especially if they're not exactly thrilled to have you come over as a work party, then, it's kind of like, well, why do you want to go there if the person's not exactly happy to see you, So, yeah, I think one of the areas that in our area where our neighboring Firewise community has had success with, and they're a much larger community. Mine is like 42 lots. Theirs is like in the thousands. And they've had much better, they've had success on social media getting the word out. So using Nextdoor, but they're dealing with a large area. They don't know all their residents. I know every single one of ours, and I can call them all. I have their phone numbers, and so I don't know. In my opinion, I think sometimes the Firewise communities are better if they're small, because you can do that individual contacting. But then when you're large, you have more resources at your disposal. You can actually maybe become a nonprofit. You can have somebody who just is focused on grants. You can have a treasurer. You can have all that structure if you have the people that are willing to step up in that neighborhood. But sometimes when it's big like that, you'll have pockets of areas where people are participating and large pockets that aren't. So just my experience, what I've seen so far.
I think you expressed that very well. I have seen that. I've noticed that to be true in a lot of areas as well. Any response to Robert, or anything to add for folks in the room?
I would like to add one thing though. I'm not involved, but I have part ownership of a ski lodge up in Truckee, and the Truckee Tahoe Donner Fire District, they passed a measure a few years ago, a tax measure, and they've been using that to do a lot of funding. And I have to say it's really gotten a lot cleaned up there, especially in Tahoe Donner along Highway 89. It's just incredible the amount of work that's been done, and a lot of it basically is just because they have the funding to go do it, and they have staffing, that kind of stuff.
Michelle, or Robert, we have a small HOA in our community of about 100 homes, and they have been extremely supportive of our efforts, our Firewise efforts. And what they did this year for us, because they knew we didn't qualify for any of the grants that we applied for, is they held a wine auction for us and donated the proceeds of that wine auction to us so that we could fund next year's programs. And so it's just little things like that where you gain the support of the community. They see the benefits of protecting lives and property. They know that they're getting insurance discounts because we are a recognized Firewise community. And all of those things help generate the money and the funds so that we can go on to some of our disadvantaged homeowners' lots and mitigate their parcels for them. And so that's the benefit of being able to have organizations that are supportive in our community.
Very cool. Michelle, do we, I'm just looking at time. What's our next question?
It was, what tools and approaches do you use to engage your community and take action? One of the things that Diane brought up that I did want to mention was the meet and greet of new leaders. I do see that happening a lot in new neighborhoods. And I think it is a wonderful way to connect because there's a whole new group of people. It really is. And it's an easy thing, I would say, Diane, right? Because it's not constant.
It really is. I mean, just even giving them a go bag and explaining what the home assessment checklist is and what they can do for evacuation preparedness. All of those one-on-ones are so beneficial. And then we get them to sign up on our newsletter so that they know when our next events are happening. And so the Street Ambassador program, the meet and greets, passing out the go bags at all of our events really is a benefit to the community.
Any other strategies that the folks use? Mike hasn't contributed yet, so I'm just wondering if he has anything to. And is it Elo Nelson or Ilo? Okay, well, they're standing strong and they're not letting themselves be bullied by me by trying to call them out. So good on you guys. So as far as strategies, like, yeah, meet and greet, Robert, so a question that I had for both you guys and anyone else who wants to contribute would be, like, I think a lot of folks struggle with getting in the weeds of just how to do those things. So I think that meet and greets and community events and contact lists, they all make sense. But then what I've noticed, at least with some folks in other areas, it's like they kind of spin their wheels on, like, what's the best way to stay in contact? What's the best way to reach folks? Is it in person? Do we send an email? Do we do social media? Is it all of the above? Who's going to do those things? So and how do you manage people's bandwidth, right? Because this is all volunteer work and not burn people out. So I'm wondering if anyone has any insights on that.
Well,
Megan, just one point. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cricket doesn't have access to bring us back to the original meeting, which will be like in 2 minutes.
Thank you. Time check. Okay.
Michelle, I can respond to that question a little bit, I think. One of the ways that we've done it, because we are so large, is I have a core team leader, who is in charge of our Street Ambassador program. And she has divided our community up into 5 separate zones. And then she has recruited leaders for each one of those zones so that they become in charge of a smaller unit rather than dealing with the whole unit all at once. And that's one way that we've been able to manage our communication. And she also organizes ways to get our posters up when we have major events. We post our flyers up on all the posts throughout the community, and she has all of the designated areas where those posters have to go, and our team leaders go in and put the posters up, and people literally stop their cars to read our flyers to find out what's going on in the community. But that's another way of communicating on a large scale that we do.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Should we try to do one more question, Michelle? Oh, wait, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. That my big deal is the contact, trying to stay in touch with the people and to even let them know what we're doing. And I've done kind of a silly little thing in my neighborhood, and it's working because I'm getting response and help and numbers and names from people. Is I have a big front yard, and I've turned it into a, like, every night or every other night dog park. Have tons of dogs in the neighborhood. So the people come over and we're all talking while we're letting the dogs play and throwing balls for them. And I have gotten contacts. I've gotten people to inquire as to what we are doing and what the benefits are. So it's just a small little neighborhood thing that I'm doing. But
Yeah.
we also started because we have so many new young people with kids in the neighborhood. Neighbor and across the street started.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm so sorry, but we do need to come back together. But I think that is that's amazing, like, input of just. Hi all. So sorry to cut people off as we were closing the breakout rooms. Appreciate your grace with that.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Megan. I hope that you guys all had some good discussion for the last 15 minutes or so. In our last few minutes of this webinar, I wanted to reiterate some of the resources that Tahoe Living with Fire and Living with Fire have put out. The main one being this Ideas for Leaders document. This is just a screenshot, but I'm going to switch the screen that I'm sharing. Let's see. So on the website, TahoeLivingWithFire.com, there are resources under the Neighborhood Leader Library, and you can find a whole lot of different information things, including our Tahoe Network Ideas for Leaders. This PDF has a whole lot of ideas for leaders to take action. It is not just for the Tahoe Basin. Any leader who's listening in on our webinar today can take these and adapt them for their area. But it is a pretty long list of the different things you can do while you're starting out as a FireWise or fire adapted community, or as you continue to grow your neighborhood and your network and email lists. So I would highly recommend everyone take a look at this. We will be able to send links out after the webinar. But additionally, in this Neighborhood Leader Library, there are different templates for introduction letters, introducing yourself as a new leader. And we have example flyers, banners, things of that sort for anyone who's starting to organize a cleanup day or thinking about things or different events that they'd like to host for next year. So I wanted to make sure you all knew about these resources, and that's on TahoeLivingWithFire.com. And then for our last little bit, we just have a quick a post survey that Megan can send the link out to in the chat. It is just 2 questions, and like I said at the start, it helps Kat and I complete some of our fellowship requirement metrics. So I appreciate you filling those out. Other than that, our next webinar is November 5th about keeping your community engaged, and we would love to see you all there again.